You can go ahead and begin.
Okay, hi everyone. So good to see you. Just so you know, I'm coming off of a cold, so I have a little bit my voice kind of sounds like this. So it sounds fabulous maybe, but it's actually not really. Because of my natural ability, it's more that that's just where the cold is kind of phasing out. So, which is going to give us an opportunity to have a longer meditation. And we'll have time for some Q&A at the end, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking this time to come to take care of yourself in the way to give yourself this time, making yourself a priority, making your practice a priority. And whether you're new or seasoned or somewhere in the middle, I always think of us as brand new because this is a new moment right here. And when we can meet the moment with this sense of wonder, that childlike curiosity, versus being lost in the identity or the stories and the narratives of who we're supposed to be or all of that, but just really coming here, noticing being here on this virtual experience live, just noticing what it feels like to, if you're seeing some of us, what that feels like. I'm really excited to be offering this time today and also the retreat coming up with my dear friend and colleague, Heidi Bourne. We're going to be offering in March the 7th, the sacred path of connection, belonging, and love. And when we look at the cause of suffering, this can be attachment, the illusion of separation, and this unsteadiness because of the attachment to certainty or wanting things to be a certain way or whatever the grasping or maybe pushing away that we can get stuck in. And what's beautiful about this practice of mindfulness, I've been meditating now since I was about 17. And I would say I'm a forever student. I'm constantly humbled by the practice of being present, and especially when things are uncertain, unstable, unsteady, unfair, unkind, it can feel much more challenging to be with what is. But what's beautiful about mindfulness and this contemplative traditions that is thousands of years old is it helps us with the human dilemma, right? Which is our relationship to things, our mind, and understanding the benefit of training our attention, training our capacity to be present, and then being able, when we have this place within us that we can tap into that's steady, I think of it as the eye of the storm, that we can return to this place, this Buddha nature, this part that is untouchable, that is knowing, this part that is steady, this part that belongs to all things, to the acceptance of what is, and then being able to walk this path of liberation in the way that I can find freedom from the attachments. I can find freedom from the story of who I am, who you are, what's happening right now in this world. And I can meet this moment and recognize what is here. And that from that place, I can tap into a sense of connection and resource that is unshakable and that can offer a lot of balanced awareness. So I invite this happy new year. My friend Heidi and colleague shared at a mutual sangha that we teach together this really beautiful poem. It's by Megan Faley, and this is she's a queer feminine writer, queer femme writer, poet, and she was the wife of, and still is, Andrea Gibson. And it's called A Wish for the New Year. So if you want, just giving yourself, if you haven't already turned into a posture that you feel that you can hold steady enough for you to be present, finding where that posture is for you. Is that standing? Is that seated? Is that lying down? Just noticing what it feels like to intentionally come to a place that can hold this practice of being present. And I invite you to be curious and friendly with the posture that you're in. So at times, if it feels it's becoming more challenging, maybe even just inviting a little bit of softening into what is, or a spaciousness, a lightness in the body, or an adjustment. But it's intentional. We're staying with it as if this is part of our practice. Some of us can get really, myself included, I want to find the right posture or position. And so maybe we're finding good enough, something that's good enough. So I offer this new beginning, this time of year, with this poem, A Wish for the New Year. Because I cannot wish anyone a year where nothing hard happens, I wish you a year where you meet what is hard with softness, where you know softness is an impeccable strength. I wish you a heart like a neon sign that blinks open 24 hours. I wish you an advent calendar of a year behind the door of each day, a small gift, a surprise sweetness, an unexpected bliss. I wish you a life like a crowbar, prying your chest open, letting more love in. And just noticing how these words land for you. And noticing the invitation of this poem. A wish. This comes back to our metta, our loving kindness practice, these beautiful invitations. So not something that we're striving to make happen, but we're inviting and allowing. And I'd like to focus on this particular guidance of meditation into a three-part, a steadying, a softening, and a strengthening. Right now, in this, wherever you're tuning in from, it can feel, just headlines alone, a very destabilizing, unsteadying time. And so, as we're aware of that, how can we steady this body, this seemingly form that we're in right now, with a little bit more groundedness? What we know is that when we pay attention to something, it grows, right? So if we're paying attention to a worried mind that's repeating what ifs, what ifs, what ifs, that can feel even more unstable and unsteady. So creating this steadying is really coming back to our senses. So let's just begin by noticing the sense of touch. Where are you making contact with the surface that you're on right now? If you're aware of your feet touching the ground or a cushion, just noticing that sense of touch. Perhaps that's the back of your legs. Perhaps that's the back that's resting against a surface behind you. But inviting this sense of open curiosity, as if this is the first time you've become aware of your senses, and just sensing into touch. When we're able to experience the present moment, just meeting this moment with this open curiosity and inviting the intention to stay with it, and especially sensing into what is always present is the body. The body always lives in the moment, unlike our mind that can time travel, can go to the future, create a story, can go to the past, relive a story. We're meeting this moment with a story that is fully evolving right here, right now. And the story begins with touch, sensing into what's here. Maybe you can take a couple of deep breaths and just feeling the sense of that beautiful inhale and exhale. Noticing the sense of smell as you breathe. And then noticing the sounds without having to figure them out, where they're coming from, what's causing them, but just sensing sound. This can be the sounds from within your own body as you breathe, your heartbeat, your digestion. Could be the sounds in your environment. And can you receive those sounds as opposed to looking for them? What if you were allowed to have your spaciousness of this moment expand, that your awareness is expanding and you are receiving sounds? And so just noticing what it feels like as far as being grounded or maybe more here by sensing into this body. We might have become aware of things that were unpleasant inside our experience of this body, or maybe pleasant, or maybe just neutral. We're suspending the storytelling of it and just bearing witness to the moment to moment experience of it. And something that is a constant in our lives without even having to think about it is what is below us, which is this incredible earth that is the foundation of our day, of our night. Everything rests on us walking and stepping and sitting in relationship to this beautiful earth. And just sensing perhaps your relationship to earth right now, to this moment. Noticing what feels supportive by sensing the foundation that's underneath you. Noticing what feels more stable, more steady. And there's a lot happening in this world with our environment. So we might have some feelings that are unpleasant. Can we be aware of that as well without getting into the future, but just being right here, right now? If you'd like, you can have a moment of gratitude, of appreciation for this constant relationship with Earth. Just like your breath, of us not knowing, we don't have to think about breathing. We don't have to think about the ground underneath us. But when we can be more intentional, we can recognize our relationship. What if there are some burdens or barriers or blocks that you're holding right now? If you were able to just let them slide down into the earth, just to help you to be here in this moment. Nothing to hold onto or hold together right now. Just to surrendering into this beautiful moment to moment practice. And then I'd like to invite the second part of our meditation, which is softening with a wise heart. Can we acknowledge what is here right now in this moment? And instead of having a reactive relationship to the moment, more of a softening spaciousness. Perhaps it's that gentle rhythmic of your breath, and it's the softening in the exhale. Receiving this moment with the inhale and softening with the exhale. And noticing if there's parts that are gripping, that are holding on, that are tight. We don't want to, it's enough to be aware of it without trying to fix it and change it or judge it or should it. It's more of just being with it. And we invite the softening with a wise heart in that tenderness of love and the fierceness of love. When we soften this very vulnerable part of us, our hearts, could this be the opportunity to strengthen, to expand our capacity, and to hold things so that they don't hold us? And this is where the wisdom comes in, that we can hold our experience in the moment when we let go with love, when we let go with the softening and allowing the next moment to happen. Again, we might be aware of something that's unpleasant, something that's difficult. Can we allow the wisdom and the steadiness of our practice in this moment to meet it? Just to meet a little bit of it. We can become curious of what's here, friendly, and maybe we're aware of a resistance to what is. Can that be here too? And this softening of this wise heart, we know that there are neurons in the heart, the actual organ. This is wisdom, just like there's neurons in our brains. This is intelligence. But many of us have been conditioned to defend our hearts, to turn away from our hearts. But what if our hearts could hold more than we could imagine? And what can help us to hold this moment with a sense of freedom is the letting what is be. Whatever's here, we're going to allow it to be just for this moment. We'll bring in the curiosity and compassion. So this loving awareness and also the wisdom of impermanence, that it'll shift, it'll change. So just scanning your body if you'd like. All of this is invitational. I trust that your inner knowing is far beyond mine. So can this be a time that you're cultivating that relationship with the one that knows within? But if you feel drawn to recognizing, just scanning and noticing, is there a place in my body that's holding right now? That's bracing, that's carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Or that feels a little stuck, stagnant. First, can you just notice that you're observing your experience without being lost in it? That's the spaciousness. And then bringing your awareness to the softening, the allowing, and the letting be. And then for the last part of our meditation is inviting the sense of strengthening our true nature, our sense of aliveness in this moment. Again, what we pay attention to grows. So just sensing into what is it that you know to be true, that is regardless of conditions and circumstances. So just taking this moment, what gives you strength? Maybe it's a pet, maybe it's a sunrise, Maybe it's a dear friend. Maybe it's the Dharma, the wisdom. Maybe it's the Sangha, the community. Maybe it's just this moment right here. There's nowhere else to be. So just noticing what gives you strength, noticing this sense of steadiness or enough, steady enough, softening enough, allowing enough. And if our mind is wandering, that's not a problem. That's a strategy. And we just gently guide it back to meet this moment. And with this practice, we keep strengthening this connection, our willingness to be with what is. And maybe even sensing into you, is there a part of you that is that eye of the storm? How many things you have weathered in your life? Is there a part of you that is you can hold as your true nature that is whole, that encompasses wisdom, knowing, resilience, tenderness? And now I'm going to allow some silence so we can be with the stillness and silence which is taking this moment to strengthen, which is what feels good enough, okay, spacious in this moment. And then can we savor it? Can we sense into it and savor this moment without attaching and clinging, but just soaking it in? Nowhere else to be, nothing else to do, nothing to figure out. I'd like to invite the last part of our practice, some metta, and just inviting, including yourself and all beings. May we invite this global consciousness and just from our hearts, our tenderness, this friendly wish and wishes that we can repeat and share. So just noticing right now in the center of your chest or what feels tender or loving or heartful, wherever that might be. You could place a hand or both on your heart, or maybe that's just your torso, or just cradling your hands, but just offering this sense of warmth and care, perhaps bringing in people, communities, parts of the world that could need and benefit from more care and kindness and love, as well as including ourselves. May we feel safe and protected. May we know peace, integrity, and belonging. May we meet this moment with warmth, kindness, and ease. May all beings recognize the sense of belonging and interconnectedness. May we recognize the unmet pain that is causing harm with fierce compassion. And may we dedicate the rest of this day and our time together for the benefit of all beings, for the benefit of this earth, for the benefit of our future generations. So slowly beginning to release the intention of our practice without letting going back to our mind or thinking mind, but really staying with the presence that we've cultivated. So when you're ready to gently come out, if your eyes are not already open, softly opening them if you'd like. Thank you, everyone, for your practice. And if you can, coming back on camera if you'd like. It's a nice way to be in community and that also helps to steady us and strengthen, and just being held by our community, just noticing that how many of us came together today with the intention to be with what is, with the intention to be present, to practice, to care for ourselves, and therefore caring for others. And just noticing, if we were to reflect back when we first started, what are you aware of now? Having had this time to train our attention to not be lost in the story, to continue to return back, to invite some openness, some softening, and then building more the positive neuroplasticity in our brain, which is the strengthening and taking in the good or the good enough. So if you were just to scan your experience right now, what are you aware of? Thank you, Susan. Being present with the physicality of it all. Yeah, and just noticing that sometimes when we practice, where it's almost like a workout, we're like, gosh, it feels like I was working with a lot and I didn't even think about that, or then that came up. But what's interesting is that when we practice, especially when we're feeling restless or different things, we'll just notice how that starts to reverberate into the rest of our day, right? Yeah. So I'd love to open it up for the short amount of time that we have left. Is there any thoughts, questions, comments? And you can raise your hand or unmute. Yes, that's by Megan Faley, sorry. MEJGANFALLEY. I'm going to put it in the chat. It's really beautiful. And thank you for bearing with me. I am feeling a lot better, but feeling a little foggy. Feeling a little foggy. It's good to see some of you that I recognize, and good to meet those that I haven't. So maybe I'll share a little bit about our retreat that we're doing March the 7th to the 11th at Big Bear Retreat Center. And it's a sacred path of connection, belonging, and love. It's an affinity retreat, so it's femme identified, female identified, and it's something Heidi and I, this is going on our 10th year this year of teaching women's retreats. And we do nature-based experiences. So when Heidi and I met each other, I think it was like 14 years ago, we were like, what do we want to do? What do we love? And we're like, we love wisdom, love women, and we love wilderness. Let's create something. And so last year we did Big Bear, and it was wonderful. It was such a beautiful time of year to do as well. And but really coming into even just owning that, connecting to that softer part within ourselves that I think has enormous strengths and wisdom. Okay, and so Barb, just noticing your experience, right? Just noticing how can you work with that, right? Like this is again that our life doesn't necessarily turn out the way that we want or to meet the moment. So then how do we work with that? How do we meet that moment? right? And then Raphael, thank you so much. Yes. Thank you for acknowledging that unconditional love. That was definitely something that is part of my practice. Really recognizing the conditions of love that are placed on us very young. And then also, how do we uncondition that within ourselves, right? Sometimes having to be a good girl, good boy, or whatever it is, but how do we come back to being right here? Who am I in this moment? And just noticing what's going on with you right now. What are you present of? Are we back in our thinking, back in our digital world? That's the other thing that's so challenging. That's why it's so nice being able to be in retreat, right? Because there's spaciousness with our digital relationship. Jeff says, I really like the idea of the three components you focused on: steady, soften, and strengthen. They seem to be necessary companions that work to support each other. Thank you for bringing them. Great. My pleasure. Thank you. Maybe we can just invite what gives you strength? If people feel so inclined, you can unmute and share, or you can just put it in the chat if you feel so inclined. What gives you strength?
Being alive, Laurie.
Mm-hmm.
I love to keep things very simple. Being alive gets me going, get my engines going. No matter what's happening in the external. For me, I always love to consider it as an opportunity to dive deep within this body, knowing, understanding, working the unconditional love, working compassion, all these beautiful components that we talk about on a daily, but to work with them and not get too attached on any outcomes. That's for me. It's like, okay, Mr. Rafa, what opportunities are here today?
I love that. Exactly. I love that. Being fully alive, right? I mean, it's so amazing how we can get so lost in our head and our grasping and different things that we miss just being fully alive.
Yes, yes.
Love
Thank
it.
you once again, Laurie, and everyone here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So what else? We have my beautiful home surrounded by trees, the equanimity, deep rootedness, laughter, connecting with old friends, connecting with new people, even briefly. Yeah. So this is the inner wisdom that we have and that we can draw from and that we can forget when things get pretty challenging, when the shadow seems very dominant. And then we can invite in what else is true. Maybe we can invite another question of what part of your practice gives you strength? Is there a part of your practice? Maybe that's I get up in the morning first thing and I meditate and I get on the cushion. Maybe that's I have a cup of tea and I look out the window. Maybe that's I'm in part of a sangha that I am very connected to, or yeah, what part of your practice gives you strength?
I can offer something.
Please.
There's a river by my house, even here in Pasadena, California.
Mm,
I sit with the river pretty regularly, and that's kind of been my primary practice recently, is I just go and I have a couple different sit spots, but I'll sit in one of those spots and I'll just sit with the river and see what it wants to share with me that day. And that definitely, and it's cool to watch it shift and change so much, especially as we've had some really big rains and then followed by days of no rain. And I can see the water change literally from one day to the next. And
mm.
uh, yeah, that gives me strength for sure.
I love that. The river, noticing the changing, right? The impermanence and the beauty and that. Thank you. We have says Lisa Marie says, I just want to share that my mind feels so empty right now. I'm enjoying the experience of myself. Beautiful. Good to see you. The stillness of mind and body. My morning meditation and Big Bear Wednesday meditations, also my reading and learning. Awesome. So just noticing that this training, this practice can support us also in times of joy. You know, the intention for me when I first started learning to meditate so many years ago was deep suffering, self-harming, self-hatred, coming from a very um, developmental, complex trauma background, and not knowing how to enjoy being alive, not knowing how to find strength without being very reactive, and noticing what it feels like to be able to unlearn survival strategies that actually separate me and then come to a place of a practice that helps me feel connected and this sense of belonging and navigating this wild ride of living. And sometimes, with the new beginnings, this new year, it can be helpful to like, what's your word for the year? I always like to do that. So if there was a word for the year, maybe you can play with that. Last year, my word for the year was trust. And man, did that reveal a lot. It strengthened my trust in a lot of ways. And then it also shed light on the areas of lack of trust or mistrust or my relationship to trust. And it was an incredible teacher for me. And then the seems like the word for this year is truth. What is true? What is truth? I've been studying, coming back again to literature that I love with the Four Noble Truths. And let's see, what do we have here? We have some of us saying discipline, joy. Yeah, recognizing if there was a word, maybe it's something that we feel we would like more of. We would like to know more deeply. Maybe it's kind of a reoccurring thing that's left over from last year. Just something that can be playful to play with. I'm just going to play with the words here, joyful discipline. Because sometimes my discipline can be a little rigid. Raphael looks like he likes that. Joyful discipline, right? That it's something that when I practice, when I get into these rituals, when I have the connection of joy behind them, as opposed to I should and pushing and supposed to. And, that's where that softening into the practice of joy, the practice that it's not, I was working with someone today earlier and we were talking about skills and strategies and I think the thing for me is the steadiness comes with the application, the reapplication over and over and over. And then also sometimes we can get like, oh my gosh, how long have I been doing this and I'm still doing that? And then there's that comparative of the mind that comes in as opposed to just keep coming back, that it's something that I know and that I can meet the moment. And it can help me to remember, right? When we think of mindfulness as the Pali, to remember to remember. I forget my interconnectedness with everyone. I forget my connection to Earth. I forget my connection with myself. And how can we come back? Wanted to read this. I couldn't find, I've had it for a long time, but I couldn't find the author. And I searched everywhere for it. And but it's just called To End With. It's called The Forest Path. There's a trail through tangled green where silence waits and light is seen. Its winding steps, both soft and slow, reveal more truth than we may know. You do not walk to chase a goal, but to return to what is whole. Each leaf that trembles, root that clings, reminds you you're a part of things. There is no race, no need to flee, just one more breath beneath a tree. And in the hush, you start to hear the voice that waits when you are near. And this is where nature can be such a beautiful reminder, this beautiful path that we're on. You're so welcome. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I think I'll turn it over to you, Kiki. Is there anything that you want to share? Any announcements?
Thank you, Laurie. Just the last little logistical bits I put in the chat again, ways that you can stay connected with Laurie, go on retreat with her, BBRC. Lunchtime Mindfulness is offered freely to our community, both close and very wide and far. And teachers are offered a stipend, but we do include Laurie's Venmo and Zelle in case you were moved by practice today and would like to offer more on your own. You're more than welcome. Other than that, we're here every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. A really sweet list of rotating teachers who come in. And so it's a great way to practice, and we hope to see you all again soon.
Thank you, everyone. Be well, be safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Joyful
Bye-bye.
discipline. Joyful discipline.
Joyful discipline.
Thank
Thank
you all.
you.
Thank you so much.